Did you know? Five Nights at Freddy's was inspired by an earlier game called Chipper & Sons Lumber Company. Even though both games were made by the same man, Scott Cawthon, they are extremely different in tone. Chipper & Sons Lumber Company is a game where the player grows and harvests trees in an innocent and childlike world. The game's visuals, though, were poorly received. In an interview with Indie Game Mag, Scott stated, "People said that the main character looked like a scary animatronic animal. I was heartbroken and was ready to give up on game making. Then one night something just snapped in me and I thought to myself, I bet I can make something a lot scarier than that." Scott left behind his development of Christian games and used the harsh criticism to redirect his efforts into a game that featured horrifying animatronics. Scott has gone on record saying he doesn't regret any of his underperforming Christian games, as he felt like God had commissioned him to make them. According to Scott, the scariest animatronic is Bonnie. Scott had multiple nightmares about the character while developing the game, and even gave himself accidental jump scares while programming Bonnie's AI. Speaking of Bonnie, he was shown running down a hallway in the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's. Bonnie was also shown removing his mask, but he does neither of these things in the final game. The ability to run was given to Foxy, but no animatronic in the game removes their mask. This was likely changed because it's against the rules for an animatronic to be undressed at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Five Nights at Freddy's security camera interface was chosen specifically to limit the player's visibility and mobility. These limitations are primal sources of panic and are instinctively terrifying. Some early designs show that the cameras were once highlighted green on the monitor when selected. The cameras would have also shown a field of view and were in slightly different locations. Early versions of the game even had a life counter. This would set the amount of times the player could fail before getting a game over. In the final game though, the player only has one life. Oddly enough, this same unused mechanic can also be found in the files of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. As well as the unused lives mechanic, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 has an unused toxicity meter. It's not known if the meter was a part of a new mechanic in the main game, or whether it was meant to be used in one of the death minigames. There's also an unused image that appears to be part of a skull. An eye socket, nasal cavity, and some upper teeth are clearly visible. The depleting power mechanic was originally added so that the office doors had to be left open. This created a sense of defenselessness, adding to the lack of visibility and mobility. It's also thought that the idea of having a stationary, unmoving character was taken from one of Scott's earlier games, Sit and Survive. Although several cut features are hidden away in the code, some of the game's unused content is hidden in plain sight. The 2-second scream that plays during jump scares is part of a longer audio file. If the entire file is played, it becomes clear that the audio is of a child screaming. Freddy's laugh is also the laugh of a child, but slowed down to about 40% of its original speed. An unedited version of this giggling is thought to be the laugh of Golden Freddy. The animatronics having childlike laughs fits in with the lore of the game. Numerous newspaper clippings from the first game tell of 5 children that went missing at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Police presumed a man dressed as Freddy Fazbear lured the children to a back room and murdered them. After the murders took place, the animatronics began to leak blood and mucus from their faces. One customer even described the smell of the animatronics as reanimated carcasses. The bodies of the children were also never found. This implies that the murdered children were stuffed into the animatronic suits and are linked to the animatronics malfunctioning. Scott Cawthon has referred to the animatronics as being haunted, giving weight to the idea that the animatronics are possessed by the dead children inside them. One of the mini-games in the second game could also suggest this. In said mini-game, the player gives gifts to 4 slumped-over childlike figures. After giving the gifts, the text in the game changes from "give gifts" to "give life." The player has to approach the 4 figures again, this time changing their faces to that of one of the original animatronics from the first game. Once this is done, a Golden Freddy jump scare is triggered. A single frame prior to the jump scare has a 5th figure in the middle of the screen, where Golden Freddy came from. Golden Freddy has unique abilities in the series, being able to seemingly teleport right into the office. This could be linked to Golden Freddy's importance during the missing children incident. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Phone Guy states someone used a spare yellow suit just before the animatronics started malfunctioning. This fits in with Golden Golden Freddy appearing limp and lifeless. The lack of upright support seems to suggest the costume has no endoskeleton inside. This could also mean that the endoskeleton visible in the backstage room belongs to Golden Freddy. One idea that attempts to explain Golden Freddy's supernatural abilities states that he's just a hallucination. The evidence to support this is he only appears if the player glances at the rarely seen Golden Freddy poster, then returns to normal view, and his AI can't be edited in the custom night settings. Golden Freddy also has no reflection in the office monitors, whereas other animatronics do. And when the player is killed by Golden Freddy, the game simply crashes. It's also possible that Golden Freddy, at least originally, didn't have any special significance in the game whatsoever. In an interview with Geeks Under Grace, Scott was asked what the story behind Golden Freddy's creation was. Scott stated, "Sometimes things just happen during the game making process. I can't explain Golden Freddy." That's all for today, but don't forget to subscribe to Did You Know Gaming and follow Did You Know Gaming on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you also check out didyouknowgaming.com. And if you like this video, check out some more. Now it's time to plug my stuff. So hey, you clicked on this video because presumably you like Five Nights at Freddy's content. So if you do, you should click the video right over here to watch my theory on Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and how the phone guy is also the purple guy, who also happens to be the murderer. But that's just a theory. A theory you can watch by clicking over here. Thanks for watching, guys.